There's a conversation nobody wants to have about relationships. We're told to forgive everything, to always give second chances, that love conquers all. But here's the truth. Some actions destroy relationships so completely that forgiveness becomes self-destruction. Some behaviors are so toxic that accepting them means losing yourself piece by piece. Today we're talking about the unforgivable acts that some people commit in relationships, the ones that should be immediate deal breakers, no matter how much you think you love them. Let me be clear from the start. This isn't about hate or promoting conflict. This is about recognizing when someone's behavior has crossed lines that shouldn't be crossed. When patterns of manipulation, deception, and disrespect become so entrenched that staying means sacrificing your dignity, your mental health, and your future. Because here's what nobody tells you. Forgiveness without change is just enabling abuse. The first unforgivable act is systematic lying, and I'm not talking about surprise party lies or protecting feelings. I'm talking about the person who lies about where they are, who they're with, what they're spending money on, the person who creates alternate realities and expects you to live in them. Once someone establishes that lying to you is acceptable, they've decided your reality doesn't matter. I had a client whose partner lied about everything. Small things at first. The price of purchases, where they went after work, who they were texting. He thought these were harmless white lies until he discovered she'd been hiding $30,000 in credit card debt, had a second phone for dating apps, and was telling her friends he was abusive to explain why she was never home. The lying wasn't the disease. It was the symptom of someone who saw him as an obstacle to manipulate, not a partner to respect. Here's the pattern with chronic liars. They start small to test your boundaries. They lie about the coffee costing $3 when it was $7. You don't call it out because it seems petty. Now they know you'll accept lies. Next, it's working late when they're at happy hour. Then it's just friends with someone they're emotionally involved with. Each lie you accept teaches them your trust is worthless. The second unforgivable act is public humiliation disguised as humour. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The person who tells embarrassing stories about you at parties, who mocks your interests in front of friends, who undermines your authority with your children. Oh, don't ask him about finances, he can barely balance a checkbook. She's trying to get in shape again, let's see how long this lasts. They're not being funny, they're establishing dominance by destroying your reputation. This behaviour is particularly insidious because when you object, you're too sensitive or can't take a joke. But jokes are supposed to be funny for everyone, including the subject. When someone consistently makes you the punchline, they're not expressing humour, they're expressing contempt. And contempt is the #1 predictor of relationship failure. Once someone views you with contempt, the relationship is already over. I counselled a man whose wife would mock him constantly. In private, she'd criticise his career, his hobbies, his appearance. In public, she'd share his failures as funny stories. At family dinners, she'd interrupt him to correct his stories, roll her eyes at his opinions, and apologise to others for his quirks. He stayed for 5 years, thinking this was normal. By the time he left, he needed 2 years of therapy just to believe his own thoughts had value again. The third unforgivable act is emotional manipulation and blackmail. This is the person who threatens suicide if you leave, who cries to win arguments, who uses your love as a weapon against you. If you loved me, you would. A real man would. I guess I'm just not pretty enough for you. These aren't expressions of feeling. They're calculated attacks designed to make you responsible for their emotions. Manipulators are emotional terrorists. They take your compassion hostage and demand ransom in the form of compliance. They know exactly which buttons to push because they've spent months or years studying your weaknesses. Your fear of abandonment, your need to be seen as good, your desire to protect, all become tools in their arsenal. Here's a truth bomb. Someone who truly loves you would never use your love against you. They wouldn't weaponize your vulnerabilities. They wouldn't make you responsible for their happiness. Real love wants you to be free to choose it, not trapped by guilt, fear, or obligation. If someone's primary relationship tool is manipulation, they don't love you. They love controlling you. The fourth unforgivable act is boundary violation presented as intimacy. This is the person who goes through your phone while you sleep, who shows up at your workplace unannounced to check on you, who interrogates you about every conversation, every friendship, every moment you're not together. They'll frame this as caring, as being so in love they can't help themselves. But it's not love, it's ownership. Privacy isn't about having something to hide. It's about maintaining individual identity within a relationship. When someone violates your boundaries, they're saying your autonomy doesn't matter. They're saying you don't deserve the basic respect of being treated as a separate person, with your own thoughts, feelings, and experiences. I've seen people install tracking apps on their partner's phone for safety. Check bank statements line by line, demanding explanations. Show up at guys' nights or girls' nights because they missed you too much. This isn't romance, it's surveillance. And once surveillance becomes normalized in a relationship, you're no longer partners, you're prisoner and warden. The fifth unforgivable act is physical aggression of any kind. And before anyone says, "But men are stronger," abuse is abuse, regardless of who's delivering it. A slap, a push, throwing objects, punching walls, destroying property. These aren't expressions of anger, they're expressions of dominance. They're saying, "I will use force to control you." Here's what's particularly dangerous about physical aggression. It always escalates. The push becomes a shove, the shove becomes a slap, the slap becomes a punch. And each act of violence that's forgiven teaches the aggressor that violence works, that you'll stay, that you'll forgive, that your safety is less important than their anger. I knew someone whose partner would get physical when drinking, started with aggressive gestures, moved to throwing things, eventually became direct physical attacks. Each time there were apologies, tears, promises to change. But here's the thing about people who use violence. They only do it to people they think won't leave. They don't hit their boss when angry. They don't throw things at police officers. They can control it. They choose not to with you. The sixth unforgivable act is financial exploitation and control. This is the person who hides money while spending yours freely, who sabotages your career to keep you dependent, who runs up debt in your name, who treats your resources as theirs while keeping theirs separate. Money isn't just currency, it's freedom, security, and options. When someone controls or exploits your finances, they're controlling your future. Financial abuse is often invisible from the outside. The person who forgets their wallet every date, who always has an emergency that needs your money, who quits jobs expecting you to support them without discussion. They'll make you feel guilty for wanting financial boundaries. Don't you trust me? Couples share everything, but sharing requires consent and reciprocity, not unilateral taking. The seventh unforgivable act is deliberate isolation from support systems. This is gradual, strategic. They don't like your friends. Your family is toxic. Your hobbies take too much time away from the relationship. Slowly, systematically, they remove every support system you have until they're your only source of emotional connection. This isn't love-seeking closeness, it's control-eliminating competition. Isolation is the abuser's best friend. Without outside perspectives, their version of reality becomes the only reality. Without support systems, leaving becomes impossible. Without friends or family, you have no one to validate that what you're experiencing isn't normal. They become your whole world, and that's exactly what they want. I've watched people lose decades of friendships because their partner was uncomfortable with them. Give up careers because their partner needed them home. Move away from family because their partner found them difficult. And once isolated, the real abuse begins. Because now there's no one to tell you it's abuse and nowhere to run if you realize it yourself. The eighth unforgivable act is infidelity. And I don't care what modern culture says about it being complicated. When someone cheats, they make a series of deliberate choices. The choice to pursue someone else, the choice to lie about it, the choice to risk your health, the choice to destroy your trust, the choice to humiliate you. Each text, each meeting, each lie is a choice to prioritize their pleasure over your pain. But we were going through a rough patch. But you weren't meeting my needs. But it just happened. Number. Nothing just happens. Every affair requires planning, lying, and choosing. If the relationship has problems, you communicate. If needs aren't being met, you work on it or leave. You don't get to have a backup relationship while keeping your primary one in reserve. The person who cheats is telling you exactly who they are. Someone who will betray you when it's convenient, lie when it's easier, and risk everything you've built together for temporary pleasure. And here's the kicker. Statistically, people who cheat once are 350% more likely to cheat again. When someone shows you they're capable of that level of betrayal, believe them. The ninth unforgivable act is weaponizing your vulnerabilities. This is the person who uses your deepest fears, your trauma, your insecurities as ammunition in arguments. You tell them about your eating disorder in confidence. They call you fat during a fight. You share your childhood abuse. They say you're damaged when angry. You open up about depression. They call you crazy to win arguments. When someone uses your vulnerabilities against you, they're not just hurting you in the moment. They're ensuring you'll never be vulnerable again. They're teaching you that openness equals danger, that trust equals weapon giving, that intimacy equals ammunition. They're destroying not just this relationship, but your ability to have future relationships. I've seen people stay with partners who weaponized their deepest secrets because they felt no one else would understand those vulnerabilities. But here's the truth. Someone who uses your pain against you doesn't understand it. They exploit it. Real understanding creates compassion, not cruelty. Real love protects your vulnerabilities, not publicizes them. The 10th unforgivable act is the cycle of abuse followed by love bombing. This is the person who destroys you Monday through Friday, then spends the weekend making grand gestures, who screams at you, then buys flowers, who humiliates you, then plans romantic getaways, who breaks you down, then builds you up just enough to keep you hoping. This cycle is deliberately designed to create trauma bonding. The extreme lows make the highs feel like salvation. The unpredictability keeps you constantly anxious, constantly trying to earn the good version. You become addicted to the relief periods, not realizing that needing relief means you're being harmed. Healthy relationships don't require recovery periods. The love bombing phase isn't love, it's manipulation. They're not sorry, they're scared you'll leave. They're not changing, they're resetting the trap. And each cycle gets worse. The lows get lower, the highs get shorter, until you're living in constant abuse with just enough breadcrumbs of affection to keep you starved but not quite dead. Now let's talk about why people accept the unforgivable. First, the sunk cost fallacy. I've invested 5 years, I can't leave now. But staying doesn't get those years back, it just wastes more years. Every day you stay with someone who disrespects you is a day you're not available for someone who won't. Second, the fear of being alone. But here's what you need to understand. Being alone is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Being with someone who destroys your self-worth, who makes you question your reality, who turns love into warfare, that's worse than being alone. Alone you can heal. Alone you can rebuild. Alone you're safe from someone who hurts you. Third, the belief that love means endless forgiveness. But forgiveness without change is just enablement. Forgiveness without boundaries is self-destruction. Forgiveness without consequences teaches people that hurting you is acceptable. Real love doesn't require you to forgive the unforgivable. Real love doesn't do unforgivable things in the first place. Fourth, the hope that they'll change. They're working on themselves. They had a tough childhood. They don't mean it. But explanations aren't excuses. Understanding why someone hurts you doesn't make the hurt acceptable. And someone truly changing doesn't ask for forgiveness. They change first, consistently, without requiring you to endure more harm to prove they're different. Fifth, the normalization of toxic behavior. When you grow up seeing relationships as battlegrounds, when your friends all have similar problems, when media portrays jealousy as passion and control as care, dysfunction seems normal. But common doesn't mean healthy. Normalized doesn't mean acceptable. Just because everyone you know tolerates disrespect doesn't mean you have to. Here's what healthy relationships actually look like so you can recognize the contrast. Healthy partners disagree without disrespect. They have boundaries without surveillance. They have individual identities without secrecy. They support without controlling. They communicate without manipulating. They love without conditions or threats. In healthy relationships, trust is given and maintained, not demanded and violated. Respect is baseline, not earned through suffering. Love is shown through consistent action, not grand gestures after harm. Problems are solved together, not created by one and endured by the other. Growth is mutual, not one person constantly forgiving while the other constantly offends. If you're reading this and recognizing your relationship, here's what you need to know. It's not your fault that someone chose to treat you badly. Their behavior is about their character, not your worth. You cannot love someone into being better. You cannot forgive someone into respecting you. You cannot sacrifice enough to make someone value you. Leaving isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. It's not failure. It's recognition that some things cannot be fixed. It's not weakness. It takes incredible strength to walk away from someone you love because you love yourself more. And you should love yourself more than you love someone who hurts you. The consequences of staying with someone who commits these unforgivable acts go beyond the relationship. Your children learn that this is what love looks like. Your friends lose respect for your judgment. Your family watches you disappear into someone you're not. Your career suffers from the constant emotional turmoil. Your health deteriorates from chronic stress. Your entire life becomes about managing someone else's dysfunction. I've seen people lose decades to unforgivable relationships. They stay thinking things will improve, but instead they lose themselves completely. They become shells of who they were, constantly anxious, constantly walking on eggshells, constantly trying to earn basic respect. And when they finally leave, if they leave, they need years to remember who they were before the relationship destroyed them. Here's the hard truth about people who commit these unforgivable acts. They know exactly what they're doing. They don't treat everyone this way. They don't disrespect their boss, manipulate their parents, or lie to people who have power over them. They can control their behavior. They choose not to with you because they believe you'll accept it. The person who says they can't help their jealousy doesn't act jealous at work. The person who loses control when angry doesn't lose control with police officers. The person who forgets to respect your boundaries remembers everyone else is just fine. It's not inability, it's choice. And they're choosing to hurt you because they believe you'll stay. If you're the one committing these acts, here's your wake-up call. Your behavior is abusive. Your partner deserves better. Your apologies mean nothing without change. Your explanations don't erase harm. If you truly love someone, you'll either get serious professional help to change these patterns, or you'll let them go find someone who won't hurt them. Love doesn't harm. If you're harming, it's not love. For those stuck in these relationships, here's your action plan. Document everything. The lies, the manipulation, the abuse. Tell someone you trust what's happening. Contact domestic violence resources even if you think your situation isn't that bad. Make a safety plan for leaving. Secure your finances, protect important documents. And remember, leaving is often the most dangerous time, so don't announce it. Just go. Stop making excuses for unforgivable behavior. They're stressed. Stressed people don't automatically become abusive. They're insecure. Insecure people don't automatically become controlling. They were drunk. Alcohol doesn't create behavior, it reveals it. They had a bad childhood. So did millions of people who don't abuse their partners. Explanations aren't excuses and understanding isn't acceptance. The cost of forgiving the unforgivable is always higher than the cost of leaving. Every day you stay, you're teaching them that their behavior is acceptable. You're teaching yourself that you don't deserve better. You're teaching any children involved that this is what relationships look like. You're teaching friends that you'll accept disrespect. The price is too high. Here's what happens when you finally refuse to forgive the unforgivable. You get your life back. Your anxiety decreases. Your health improves. Your friends return. Your family exhales. Your career recovers. Your children see strength instead of suffering. You remember who you were before someone convinced you that you deserve disrespect. I've watched people transform after leaving unforgivable relationships. The woman who was told she was stupid for years starts a successful business. The man who was controlled and isolated rebuilds friendships and finds genuine love. The person who was manipulated and gaslighted learns to trust their own mind again. Freedom from toxic relationships isn't just escape, it's resurrection. You need to understand something. There are billions of people in this world. Billions. The idea that you need to accept abuse from one person because they're your soulmate or because you love them so much is insanity. There are thousands of people you could love who wouldn't lie to you, manipulate you, control you, or harm you. Love is not rare, but self-respect should be non-negotiable. The myth that love conquers all has destroyed more lives than any other romantic lie. Love doesn't conquer abuse, it enables it. Love doesn't conquer disrespect, it endures it. Love doesn't conquer manipulation, it excuses it. Real love doesn't need to conquer anything because real love doesn't create battles. Stop treating forgiveness like a virtue when it's really a vulnerability being exploited. Forgiveness is beautiful when it's earned through change, It's powerful when it's paired with accountability. It's healing when it follows genuine remorse and transformation. But forgiveness without any of these things isn't forgiveness. It's denial. If someone in your life commits these unforgivable acts, you have permission to leave. You don't need to wait for it to get bad enough. You don't need to try everything first. You don't need their agreement or understanding. You don't need to forgive to move forward. You just need to recognize that you deserve better and act on that recognition. Here's the thing about boundaries. They're not mean, they're necessary. Saying I won't accept lies isn't harsh, it's healthy. Saying I won't tolerate disrespect isn't demanding, it's basic. Saying I won't forgive abuse isn't unforgiving, it's self-preservation. Boundaries aren't about controlling others, they're about protecting yourself. The world will try to convince you that unconditional love means unconditional acceptance of behavior. That's not love, that's martyrdom. Real love has conditions: respect, honesty, safety, trust. Without these conditions, it's not love, it's exploitation wearing love's costume. Don't be fooled by the outfit. Every relationship has problems, but not every problem is forgivable. Everyone makes mistakes, but not every mistake is acceptable. Everyone deserves compassion, but not everyone deserves access to you. Everyone can change, but not everyone will. And you're not required to wait around to find out which category someone falls into. If you take nothing else from this, take this. You deserve a relationship where respect is standard, not earned through suffering. Where love is shown through consistent care, not apologies after harm. Where trust is maintained, not repeatedly broken and demanded back. Where you feel safe, valued, and genuinely loved, not despite who you are, but because of who you are. The unforgivable acts we've discussed aren't mistakes or misunderstandings, they're choices. Choices to harm, to deceive, to control, to exploit. And when someone makes these choices repeatedly, they're telling you exactly who they are. Believe them, don't forgive them, leave them. Because your life is too valuable to waste on someone who treats it as disposable. Stop asking, how can I make this work? And start asking, why am I accepting this? Stop wondering when will they change, and start recognizing this is who they are. Stop thinking, but I love them, and start remembering, but they don't love me. Not really, not healthily, not acceptably. You get one life. One. You don't get these years back, you don't get a do-over. Every day you spend with someone who commits unforgivable acts against you is a day you're not available for real love, real respect, real partnership. Every moment you waste forgiving the unforgivable is a moment you could be healing, growing, thriving with someone who would never require such forgiveness. The strongest thing you can do isn't to endure abuse, it's to refuse it. The bravest thing you can do isn't to stay and fight, it's to leave and thrive. The most loving thing you can do, for yourself, for any children involved, for your future, isn't to forgive the unforgivable, it's to free yourself from anyone who would ask you to. I want to hear from you. What patterns have you recognized? What boundaries have you realized you need to set? What unforgivable acts have you been forgiving? Share your insights in the comments, not to shame anyone, but to help others recognize these patterns. Sometimes seeing someone else describe your exact situation is the wake-up call you need to finally say, enough. Remember, leaving isn't giving up on love. It's giving up on accepting less than love. It's not closing your heart. It's opening it to the possibility of being truly loved. It's not failure. It's the first step towards success in finding what you actually deserve. The unforgivable doesn't deserve forgiveness, and you don't deserve to live with the unforgivable.